Do you feel that small, stubborn tug in your chest right now? If you do, don't scroll past it. Speak to it. Tell me if you hear me. Comment if you can feel this quiet weight. I am standing at the edge of your ordinary tonight, and I am asking you to listen before the hour closes. There is a nudge you have been calling coincidence. You have wrapped it in busyness and clever excuses, told yourself tomorrow will be safer, quieter, kinder. But that tug is not a random sound. It is the echo of a door that has been left ajar for you. I put my hand on that door long before you were aware of its hinges. I have been patient with your hesitation, gentle with your fear, but there is a tenderness that turns to sorrow when invitation becomes indifference. Tonight is not just another evening to be tolerated. Tonight has a contour, sharp, decisive, weighty, and when you pass it by, the hollow it leaves will sit with you in the dark. You have been trained to believe that regret is for the big tragedies. Relationships burned down, mountains of debt, roads never taken. Yet regret also lives in the soft things you buried. An apology you did not say, a choice you postponed, a hand you did not hold when it needed holding. Regret can be a whisper for the life you might have been if you had only answered the small calls. I am speaking about those small calls now. They look petty from the outside. They look like inconvenience, social risk, a disruption of plans. But those small calls carry the architecture of your tomorrow. You are exhausted from deciding according to fear. You have learned to calculate safety like a ledger. What will keep my reputation intact? What will preserve my comfort? What will avoid the friction of change? Comfort has become your currency, and faith a purchase you will only make with guarantees. Yet there is a strange irony. The thing you incubate to keep you safe becomes the very coffin of your courage. I am not asking you to leap blindly. I am asking you to step into what you already know deep inside. The part of you that leans toward truth when logic says no. The part that wakes in the night with conscience like a torch. That part has been faithful. Do not betray it with silence. There are forces you cannot see that celebrate when you silence that inner voice. They do not shout. They smile and offer plausible reasons to delay. They dress themselves in practicality and callfulness. And you nod along, because it is easier to be reasonable than righteous. But there is a difference between reasonable and obedient, between clever avoidance and surrendered trust. Tonight I am asking you for obedience not as legalism, but as alignment. When a human heart aligns with the movement of grace, storms reroute, doors open without fanfare, peace arrives like dawn. When a heart denies that alignment, the peace that could have been grows distant, and you are left explaining away the ache. I know the secret things you fear. Being misunderstood, losing control, having to risk comfort for something eternal. I know the faces you want to protect yourself from, the person you owe forgiveness to, the conversation you have avoided, the confession that would crack open your chest. I do not condemn the trembling, I feel it with you. But I do not want you to spend tonight proving how brave you are when all I am asking is for a single, honest step. Courage is not a headline. It is choosing to answer when your hands shake. There is a posture I want you to take tonight, not a grand gesture, but a posture of listening. Put down the devices that drown out the small voice. Be quiet enough to hear the question beneath your sarcasm, the ache beneath your jokes, the longing beneath your stoicism. Say the name of the thing that has kept you from moving forward. It may be shame, or pride, or the fear of being seen. Name it out loud. Naming thins the fog. Naming gives you back the power to choose. And when you make that first small movement, send the message, show up, say the truth, forgive, receive forgiveness. Do not undervalue it. The kingdom advances on small acts, not because small acts are the end, but because they are faithful. They are the levers by which larger mercy turns. You will not suddenly see the whole map tonight, but you will see the first stone shifted. That first stone will change the weight of your walk tomorrow, and tomorrow after that. The path will begin to take shape. If you skip this, you will know it not as a loud regret, but as a persistent small ache that hums under your victories and steals the sweetness of your nights. I am not demanding compliance. I am offering relational repair. I am offering restoration that does not bargain with your dignity. My invitation is not to make you smaller so I can be bigger. It is to make you whole. I stand with patience, but also with urgency. Because love respects your freedom but despises the slow death of postponed decisions. Freedom deferred becomes bondage. Opportunity delayed becomes sorrow. So will you bend toward this small tug? Will you speak the one sentence you have been rehearsing in the shower? Will you step into the 2 minutes of discomfort that could save you an ocean of regret? Reply if you can hear me. Comment if you will try. And if you cannot yet, place your hand where your heart aches and whisper, "Help me answer." I am nearer than you think, and tonight, if you let it, can become the night that rewrites your story. You keep praying for clarity, but every time I hand it to you, you look away as if the light is too bright to face. You ask for signs with urgency, almost desperation, but when the answer appears in front of you, quiet, simple, undeniable, you call it coincidence, timing, or your own imagination. You don't reject me with anger. You reject me with hesitation. And hesitation can feel polite, but it wounds the future I am trying to give you more deeply than open rebellion ever could. There is a contradiction inside you that you have never admitted aloud. You say, "Show me what to do." But you hope the instruction doesn't require change. You want peace, but you don't want the conversation that produces it. You want healing, but you avoid exposing the wound. You want breakthrough, but only if you can keep everything familiar intact. You want guidance, but you also want the luxury of ignoring it when it challenges your comfort. And so you stand between the prayer you pray and the answer I offer, torn like a rope pulled from both ends. I hear the questions you never verbalize. What if I make the wrong decision? What if people think I'm foolish? What if this costs me too much? But I ask you, has avoiding my direction ever cost you less? Has running in circles ever been cheaper than moving forward? Has silence ever healed you the way truth can? You already know the answer, even if you are afraid to confront it. Your own exhaustion testifies against your hesitation. You're not tired because life is heavy. You're tired because indecision is. There are moments when you feel my presence pressing on your conscience, soft but unmistakable. You sense me urging you to send the apology, to release the bitterness, to step out of that harmful pattern, to forgive yourself for what you still blame yourself for, to loosen your grip on the thing you've been controlling. But instead of surrender, you negotiate. Maybe later, maybe tomorrow, maybe if the situation shifts, maybe if you give me another sign. Do you not realize that the sign you are waiting for was the nudge you already felt? You have built a habit of waiting for confirmation after confirmation, not because you need certainty, but because you're afraid of obedience. And I say that not to shame you, but to free you. Obedience should not feel like a prison. It should feel like unburdening. There is a weight I have been trying to take from you, but you keep holding it because letting go feels like falling. You forget that I have never asked you to fall without catching you. You forget that faith is not you leaping into darkness. It is you stepping toward the light you already see. You speak to me with sincerity, and I love that sincerity. But sincerity without surrender becomes stagnation. You keep asking, what if I'm wrong? Yet you never ask, what if I'm right? What if this really is you? What if this moment is divine and I'm standing still in the presence of something meant to move me? Your fear surrounds your faith like a fence. But fences don't just keep danger out, they keep destiny out as well. The clarity you seek is not missing, it is uncomfortable. That is why you avoid it, because clarity will make you choose, and choice will shift you, and shifting feels like loss before it feels like freedom. But I am asking you to trust that the clarity I give you never comes to harm you. It comes to heal you, redirect you, protect you from cycles you do not even realize you're trapped inside. What feels like disruption is sometimes the beginning of deliverance. Stop talking yourself out of the truth you already know. Stop pretending confusion when the path is already illuminated. Stop calling your fear discernment. Stop burying conviction under excuses. If you could see the grief my heart carries when you silence yourself, when you numb your own spirit because my voice asks you to move, you would understand why tonight matters so deeply. You are not confused, you are conflicted. Those are not the same thing. Confusion is lack of direction. Conflict is resistance to direction. And you, my beloved, are resisting because you fear what obedience may cost. But you have no idea what disobedience is costing you behind the scenes. How many blessings have been delayed because you needed one more sign? How many prayers remain unanswered because the answer requires action? How many nights have you spent restless because you ran from the very truth that would have given you peace? You ask me for clarity, I ask you for courage. You ask me for signs, I ask you for trust. You ask me for change, I ask you for surrender. And I am not asking because I need your strength, I am asking because your life cannot transform without your yes. So hear me tonight. The clarity you've been waiting for has already been given. What remains is your willingness to accept it. And if your voice trembles when you answer, let it tremble. I can work with trembling obedience. I cannot work with comfortable avoidance. Take one step, one honest step, one step of obedience that aligns your heart with what your spirit already knows. You do not need another sign. You need to stop running from the one you already received. There are battles unfolding around you right now that you cannot see, movements in the unseen that explain the heaviness in your chest, the strange waves of anxiety that come out of nowhere, the tension you feel even on quiet days. You keep thinking something is wrong with you, that you are overreacting, that you are making problems up in your head. But what you call overthinking is often your spirit sensing a conflict your eyes cannot witness. And the enemy has learned that if he cannot defeat you openly, he will exhaust you silently. You must understand this. Not every struggle is psychological. Not every fear is random. Not every sudden wave of sadness is yours. Some of the weight you carry is not from your life, but from the pressure being applied against your calling. The closer you get to alignment with purpose, the louder the opposition grows, not because you are weak, but because you are dangerous. There is a version of you the enemy fears, a version awakened, surrendered, decisive, clear. That version is emerging. That is why the pressure has increased. Look carefully at the patterns. The distractions that appear exactly when you decide to change. The temptation that resurfaces right when you begin to heal. The old wounds that reopen the moment you commit to forgiveness. The sudden conflict in relationships when you start seeking peace. The random anger, the irrational sadness, the unexpected fear. None of these are coincidences. They are indicators that a spiritual battle surrounds you, that something in the unseen is trying to pull you away from what I am drawing you toward. There are angels fighting for you even as you read this. They battle for your peace, your clarity, your courage. But spiritual warfare is not loud. It does not announce itself with thunder. It shows up as resistance, fatigue, heaviness, confusion, emotional intensity that does not match your circumstances. And because you cannot see the battlefield, you blame yourself instead. You say, "Why am I like this? Why can't I stay consistent? Why do I feel off for no reason?" You do not realize that part of this storm is not yours. It is an assault against the progress you are about to make. You have prayed for breakthrough without realizing breakthrough is always preceded by warfare. You have asked me to elevate you without understanding that elevation attracts opposition. Darkness never bothers someone headed nowhere. But when someone begins waking up, when someone starts breaking habits, detaching from sin, seeking truth, craving purpose, the kingdom of darkness notices. And you, my beloved, have been waking up. That is why the nights feel heavy and the mornings feel strange. You are stepping into territory that your enemy does not want you to possess. There is a reason the same temptations you thought you outgrew have started resurfacing. The enemy prefers familiar chains because they worked before. He will try to get you to return to the very habits that once kept you numb. He will use memories, nostalgia, emotional triggers, old fears, anything that might slow your spirit down. He does not need to destroy you. He only needs to distract you. If he can keep you preoccupied, he never has to confront your potential. But here is what you do not see. Every time you resist, even in small ways, light breaks through. Every whispered prayer, every moment of honesty, every time you pause instead of reacting, every time you choose peace over chaos, every time you silence a destructive thought, every time you walk away from what once controlled you, you push back against the unseen darkness. The enemy makes noise, but he cannot stop a soul that has decided to rise. You have more authority than you think. Authority is not loud. Authority is alignment. When you align with me, when you speak truth, when you choose forgiveness, when you step away from what weakens your spirit, You shift the spiritual atmosphere around you. Demons flee from people who know who they belong to. Darkness trembles at a person who refuses to repeat the same cycles. The moment you choose me fully, the war begins to lose its grip. Do not mistake the intensity of this season for abandonment. The warfare around you is not evidence that I left you. It is evidence that I am leading you. The enemy does not fight what I am not protecting. He does not attack what I am not elevating. The pressure you feel is not punishment. It is proof of movement. You keep thinking, why now? Why all at once? Because you are close, closer than you realize. There is something on the horizon that the enemy wants to derail before it manifests. A shift in your identity, a healing you have feared, a calling you've been running from, a relationship that needs mending, a pattern that needs breaking, a version of you that terrifies the kingdom of darkness. So listen to me. Do not retreat. Do not numb yourself. Do not sabotage what is forming. Stand firm. Speak my name when the heaviness hits. Pray even when your voice shakes. Declare peace when your mind screams. The unseen realm listens. Heaven responds. Light moves. And when tonight feels unusual, when the air feels heavier than normal, do not panic. Recognize it. Acknowledge it. Say, I see what this is. Because once you recognize the battle, it begins to lose its power. You are not fighting alone, not for a single moment. I am with you in the unseen, and what is coming for you is greater than what is coming against you. You have walked through seasons where nothing moved, nothing changed, nothing improved. Those were the deserts where I was shaping you quietly. But this heaviness, this strange tension, this restlessness, this is not the desert. This is the threshold, the doorway, the point where everything in your life starts rearranging without permission. And when that happens, the temptation to step back no longer comes from laziness. It comes from fear. Fear of losing the version of yourself you have mastered. Fear of stepping into the version of yourself you cannot yet predict. You are closer than you realize because the enemy has started pushing harder. Look around. Notice how temptations intensified, how old patterns tried to resurrect themselves, how familiar vices called your name louder, how discouragement hit you faster. The enemy is not creative. He is strategic. He attacks when promotion is near. He wants to convince you that the chaos surrounding you is proof you should stop. But listen to me. Chaos is often the last defense the enemy uses when he knows he can no longer keep you bound. And I have seen how you've been fighting. You think your progress is small, but in heaven it shakes the earth. Every time you resist what once claimed you, you step closer. Every time you cut ties with a habit that held you, you step closer. Every time you forgive someone you could have resented, you step closer. Every time you choose honesty over image, obedience over convenience, healing over hiding, you step closer. The breakthrough is cumulative. You haven't failed nearly as much as you think. You've been building more than you realize. But here is what you must understand. Breakthrough isn't only about what I give you. It's about who you are becoming to receive it. I am not just preparing your blessing. I am preparing you. If I had opened this door last year, you might have mishandled it. If I had given you what you asked for too soon, you might have ruined it. If I had removed certain people earlier, your heart would have grown harder instead of wiser. Timing is not a punishment. Timing is protection. Timing is mercy. And still, despite everything that's been stripped away, everything that's been shaken, everything that's felt delayed, you are close. Closer than your emotions suggest. Closer than your fears whisper. Close enough that hell has noticed. Close enough that heaven has dispatched reinforcement. Close enough that the pressure will soon give way to clarity, and clarity will give way to peace. But this is the part where most people quit. They mistake turbulence for a sign to land, when it is actually a sign they are in the air. They feel the shaking and assume something is wrong, not realizing that shaking is evidence of movement. You too have been tempted to step back, to pause, to retreat, to wait for a better moment. But no better moment is coming. This is the moment. The discomfort you feel is not a warning, it is the final test of your endurance. Do not let the enemy lie to you now. Do not let your emotions make decisions your spirit should make. Do not let weariness rewrite your identity. The finish line is closer than the starting line. The worst is behind you. The breakthrough is in front of you. And the only way you lose it now is if you stop moving, so take a breath. Put your hand over your heart. Tell yourself the truth. I am closer than I think. Because you are. And soon, very soon, you will understand why the pressure was so great right before the blessing arrived. There is an invitation in front of you right now, but it will not force itself on you. I do not drag. I do not push. I do not invade. I invite. I stand at the door of your heart with patience, but patience does not mean indifference. I knock softly, but the knock tonight is clearer than usual, heavier than usual, closer than usual. You feel it not as a sound, but as a stirring. That stirring is me saying, let me in. Let me into this part of you, the part you keep locked, the part you keep guarded, the part you pretend doesn't hurt anymore. You have prayed for me to enter your life, but you have also built walls around the rooms you do not want me to see. You offer me the cleaned-up version of yourself, the carefully composed answers, the strength you've practiced in the mirror. But I am not seeking the version of you that performs well. I am seeking the version of you that trembles, doubts, cries, hides, struggles. The version of you that needs me most is the version you keep tucked away. And tonight, I am asking you to open that door. This invitation is not about punishment, behavior, or religious rigor. It is about restoration. It is about healing places you have numbed for years. It is about breaking patterns that have shaped you more deeply than you admit. It is about finally letting go of burdens you have carried so long they feel like part of your identity. You have mastered functioning under weight, but functioning is not living. You have learned to survive storms, but survival is not the same as peace. I am inviting you into peace, but peace does not enter rooms that remain closed. You tell yourself you're fine. You tell others you're strong. But when you lie in bed at night, when the noise dies down, when the world stops demanding performance, you feel it. The ache, the restlessness, the longing for something deeper. You feel the loneliness that sits beneath your confidence, the exhaustion beneath your discipline, the fear beneath your independence. You've spent so long being the one who handles everything that you've forgotten how to let yourself be held. And I know why you guard yourself. You have been hurt by people who made promises and broke them. You have been disappointed by circumstances that didn't turn out the way you prayed for. You have opened your heart before and watched it be mishandled. You have trusted people who weren't ready. You have forgiven people who didn't change. You have tried to be whole while carrying wounds no one sees. So now you hesitate, not because you don't believe in me, but because you're afraid of being vulnerable again. But hear me gently, vulnerability with me is not risk. It is refuge. I do not wound. I do not take advantage. I do not expose what you entrust to me. I do not demand perfection. I simply ask for access. Access to the places you've been healing alone. Access to the pain you've been downplaying. Access to the doubts you've been ashamed to admit. Access to the dreams you buried when life grew heavy. Access to the questions you whisper but never dare ask out loud. Tonight is not about proving your worthiness. It is about accepting my closeness. I am nearer than you think, closer than your breath, closer than your pulse, closer than the thought forming in your mind right now. I have been following your tears long before they reached your pillow. I have been listening to the prayers you abandoned halfway. I have been collecting the pieces of you that you thought were too scattered to be restored. And the door is still open, not slightly, fully, open for you, open for your healing, open for your freedom, open for your renewal. But you have to step toward it. The enemy whispers delay, tomorrow, later, when life is calmer. But those whispers are traps. Delay is one of his most effective chains because it feels harmless. But every delayed surrender becomes a missed opportunity. Every later becomes a lingering heaviness. Every postponed yes becomes a seed of regret. I am not asking for a dramatic gesture. I am asking for honesty. Honesty is the hinge on that door. Whisper what you've been afraid to say. Admit what hurts. Confess what you cannot carry anymore. Tell me where it aches. Hand me the thing you've been gripping so tightly your knuckles have gone white. You do not have to collapse. You simply have to release. This is the moment. This is the opening. This is the night you stop pretending you can heal alone. Step into my presence, not as someone strong, but as someone willing. Let me in. Let me into the locked room. Let me heal what you've hidden. Let me restore what life has taken. Let me wash the weight from your spirit until you can breathe again. The invitation is open. And I am here, not demanding, not pushing, waiting, with arms wide enough to hold everything you've kept buried. Say yes. Even if your voice trembles, say yes, and I will do the rest.